Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. My name is Janet Schneider, and I will serve as your worship leader today. I'm pleased to share this service with all of you, in person and online. Our church is a place you can bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind, your expansive heart. We are a community committed to social justice and to supporting the various spiritual and ethical paths of our members and friends. Our congregation strives to be welcoming to all, so you will see signs for various accommodations such as gender neutral restrooms and hearing assistance devices. These are also listed on the sheet you received with your order of service. If you have questions, please ask our ushers. If you would like to know more about our church or about Unitarian Universalist faith, please contact us by emailing member-care@firstuu.com. Hundreds of years ago, when this land was home to the Adena, Hopewell, Miamia, and Shawnee peoples, a squirrel could travel across Ohio without touching the ground. Trees covered our state. Obviously, we will never recreate those conditions, but we can be more mindful of how we care for the vegetation in our parks and around our homes. This Earth Day service will tell us more about how we can do that. Now, please note the beautiful flowers given today by Faith Maynard in celebration of Fiona's 10th birthday. Happy birthday, Fiona. As Denise lights our chalice today, we remember the earth, our environment. We commit to making an effort to correct the damage we have caused it by our thoughtless actions.
This is a reading from The Nature of Oaks by Douglas Tallamy. Douglas Tallamy, I'll just tell you a little bit about the author. Douglas Tallamy holds a PhD in entomology, the study of insects, and he's a University of Delaware professor in the Department of Entomology and Wildlife Ecology. He has long studied the interactions between plants, insects, and birds. This reading is taken from Tallamy's book, The Nature of Oaks, which discusses why native oaks and native trees and plants are vital for sustaining the complex web of wildlife above and below ground. This interaction is of profound importance to us as Unitarians because our seventh principle affirms respect for the interdependent web of life of which we are a part. Okay, here's a reading from The Nature of Oaks. In most U.S. counties, oaks, cherries, willows, birches, hickories, pines, and maples are producing the vast numbers and types of insects that support animal populations. These trees are keystone plants because they play the same support role that the keystone in a Roman arch plays. In place, the keystone supports all the other stones in the arch, but take the keystone away and the arch collapses. The same is true for keystone plants. If you have an oak or a black cherry or a black willow in your yard, there will be enough insect food for at least a few birds to reproduce. This is why the oak tree in your front yard or my front yard is not just another tree. 511 species of caterpillars, moths, and butterflies develop on oaks. Astonishing astonishingly, an incredible 6,000 to 9,000 caterpillars are required to feed one clutch, that's one nest of eggs of chickadees. We humans live our lives in a brief instant of ecological time. We cannot return ancient oaks to our landscapes during that instant, but we can start the process.
Now please rise as you are willing and able and sing hymn number 298 from the gray hymnal, Wake Now My Senses. And we'll be singing verses 1, 3, and 5. After the hymn, please greet your neighbors. Please now greet your neighbors.
Japanese Children's Favorite Stories. Edited by Florence Sakade. Illustrated by Yoshisuke Kurosaki. At the last Heart and Hand auction we held, I put up for auction A Time for All Ages. Barbara Newman won that. At the beginning of this year, she lent me this book of Japanese children's stories, which she herself had read as a child. From this book, I've pulled 2 stories, and I'm happy to share one with you today. The Sticky, Sticky Pine. Once there was a woodcutter. He was very poor, but very kind. Never would he tear off the living branches of a tree to make firewood. Instead, he would gather only the dead branches on the ground. He knew what happened when you tore a branch off a tree. The sap, which is the blood of the tree, would drip and drip, just as though the poor tree were bleeding. So, since he didn't want to harm the trees, he never tore off the branches. One day, he was walking beneath a high pine tree hunting for firewood when he heard a voice saying, "Sticky, sticky is my sap, for my tender twigs are snap." The woodcutter looked, and sure enough, someone had broken 3 limbs off the pine, and the sap was running out. Skillfully, he mended them, saying, "Now these tender twigs I'll wrap, and in that way stop the sap." And he tore a piece from his own clothes to make a bandage. No sooner had he finished than many tiny gold and silver things fell from the tree. It was money, a lot of it. The surprised woodcutter was almost covered up with it. He looked at the tree and smiled and thanked it. Then he took the money home. There was a great amount, and he slowly realized that he was now a very rich woodcutter indeed. Everyone knows that the pine tree is the sign of prosperity in Japan, and sure enough, the grateful pine had made him very rich. Just then, a face appeared in the window. It was the face of another woodcutter, but this woodcutter was neither nice nor kind. In fact, it was he who had torn the branches off the pine and had broken its twigs. When he saw the money, he said, "Where did you get all that money? Look how nice and bright it is." The woodcutter held up the money so the other could see. It was oblong in shape, the way money used to be in Japan, and he had 5 bucketfuls. He told the bad woodcutter how he had got the money. "From the big pine tree?" "Yes, that's the one." Said the bad woodcutter, and ran away as fast as he could go. He ran right up to the old pine tree, and the tree said, "Sticky, sticky is my blood. Touch me, you'll receive a flood." "Oh, what I want," said the bad man, "a flood of gold and silver." He reached up and broke off another branch. The pine tree suddenly showered him, but it showered him with sticky, sticky sap, not gold and silver at all. The bad woodcutter was covered with sap. It got in his hair, on his arms and legs. Since it was so sticky, he couldn't move, and though he called for help, no one could hear him. He had to remain there for 3 days, 1 day for each branch, until the sap became soft enough for him to drag himself home. And after that, he never broke another branch off of a living tree. I wonder, what role have trees played in your life?
They took all the trees and put them in a tree museum. And they charged the people $1.50 to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Hey, farmer, farmer, put away that DDT now. Give me spots on my apples, but leave me the birds and the bees, please. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Late last night, I heard the screen door slam, and a big yellow taxi took away my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot.
Thanks, Jera. Now we'll send our children off to class singing. Now we welcome member and honeysuckle hunter and destroyer, Phillip Schaefer, who will first speak and then introduce our speaker.
Thank you for inviting me up here, and thank you for giving the opportunity for the plate collection to go to my friend and his organization, Tom Boeing, and the Ohio Valley Forestry Fellowship. I want to start with the idea about trees being important. Often it's something that we just kind of drive by or walk by and don't really pay much attention to. But something that we're really learning is just how important they are and the infinite web that they play a very key part in. And I really liked the idea of the keystone, the trees being the keystone of that landscape and ecosystem. Trees are obviously essential to creating some really fantastic ecosystems. There are so many different benefits to having trees in our world, and adding them back in and planting new trees and saving the trees that we already have. many of the health benefits that we get from trees involve like cleaner air, cleaner water. They pick up different pollutants out of the air and pull things out of the water, filter the water, which obviously is good for us. There are also many mental health benefits as well. There are studies being done that show being in an area with lots of trees has an effect on the amount of antidepressants taken within the people or by the people who live in that area. So I'm interested to see where that research plays out in the future. But that also brings up an equity issue because of tree canopy coverage. Some neighborhoods in Cincinnati have upwards of 40–50% tree canopy coverage, whereas others are down in like 10–20%, which becomes heat island effects. It's much cooler in neighborhoods with lots of trees. And we also have biodiversity, as Ellen mentioned. Was it 511 species on oak trees of insects? And also, again, we don't really think about insects always being as like very important players in the world, but they pollinate all of our food sources. Even if you eat meat, the things that those things eat are being pollinated and playing a role in like the decomposition of things. If we didn't have bugs, where would the things go that are no longer living? And then the decomposition creates the nutrients, and it's this whole cycle of regeneration. Another important aspect of trees is the carbon storage. So with climate change, yes, we also need to stop adding fossil fuels and using them, but we also need to take carbon out of the air, and trees are a very proven method to do that. And again, getting back to that infinite web of connectivity, that is our seventh principle. Really, the whole ecosystem as a system really is important. Like, you can't just plant one species of tree in a whole patch. You have to have, they interact with each other through their roots. They interact with each other through the different insects living in and among them and under them, and the birds that are supported by the insects and all the different mammals. And then the healthier the ecosystem you have, the more carbon is sequestered. And so that's really what drives my motivation in doing the work that I do as a honeysuckle killer, and healing these ecosystems. There's a really fantastic climate scientist and advocate, Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson. She co-hosted a really wonderful podcast that I'm completely blanking on right now. But she has this great idea of creating a 3-circle Venn diagram to figure out what you can do for the climate. And she has one circle of what are you good at, one circle is what is the work that needs doing, and one circle is what brings you joy. And for me, it's really healing the ecosystems that we have available to us, specifically our Cincinnati park system, which is a beautiful system, but also needs a lot of healing and work. Which brought me into contact with Tom Boeing, and he was at our first work day at French Park, our volunteer group. I am president of Friends of French Park, and it just started up in June of last year, and Tom was there, and I kind of got asked because I just really eager apparently about the whole idea. I was asked to run it, and there were some other people, and we were just kind of trying to figure things out, like how does one work in a park and with the park system and all that stuff. And Tom sent me an email and was like, hey, I really want to be a part of this. And I was like, great, we'll include you. Like, we'll reach out when we have our next date. And then the next day, Tom was like, he sent me an email, hey, I really want to be a part of this. And then a couple days later, we hadn't figured it out yet, and he sent me an email and was like, hey, I really, really want to be a part of this. And then I think you texted me a couple times too. And it really worked out. Just in the last couple months, Tom has, through the OVFF, given Friends of French Park 50 white oaks, which are in the ground and growing. Seem to be quite happy so far. Which brings me to another quote from Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson. This is from her website. She says, yes, the climate challenge is enormous. We need to eliminate greenhouse gas emissions from electricity, agriculture, transportation, industry, and buildings. We must protect and restore ecosystems. We have to change society, policy, economy, and culture. This is about transformation. Also, yes, there is something meaningful each of us can contribute to climate solutions. This is the work of our lifetimes. And for Tom, I think that this is really your work. Not that many people can say that they have planted or given away 500,000 trees, and I think that really needs to be celebrated and is very inspirational to me, and I don't know, a goal. And I know that OVFF is a group project, but you're always there. You're in so many of the photos on the website, and you seem to really be front and center in that effort. And so I'd like to hand the microphone over to Tom, and you'll hear more about the Ohio Valley Forestry Fellowship.
So first slide. I'll just go ahead and get started, but yeah, thank you. I wanted to thank you all for inviting me. Phillip, thanks for the introduction there. I've really enjoyed working with you and doing the things at French Park. I retired about a year ago, so I was looking for other projects to kind of keep me busy, and French Park really fit that role. Every Monday morning, we usually get together with a handful of us, and it's just a great part of my routine. Again, thanks for inviting me and letting me share the mission of the OVFF of more trees. That's what really we're all about. Next slide. As Phillip mentioned, and really, it was a few years ago that really it kind of sunk in, just really looking at the numbers, and when we were able to start advertising the fact that we had given away or helped plant over 500,000 trees, it was at that point where I really thought, wow, I think we've really kind of accomplished something here. We started in, the OVFF started in 1979. It started with a group of friends. We decided parents of some friends had a farm out in Brown County. There was a back 17 acres that I think had been burned at one point, and we got the idea of, hey, let's plant trees on that property. We planted 6,000 pine trees, and it was after that, a group of us forward-thinking people, maybe referred to at times as hippies, we decided to buy those 17 acres, and that's when we incorporated as a nonprofit tree planting group. Next slide. And that's when we began helping other people plant trees. We did a lot of stuff just helping on farms. There might have been somebody who had a farm and a field that they wanted to put into trees. We would help them. We planted along highways, a lot of parks. It kind of just started growing. And when we did that, we got a lot of help from, next slide. Just different groups. It didn't happen just with the OVFF. We might have spurred a lot of things, but it was only really working with other people. This slide here is of Walnut Hills High School. There's a Walnut Woods in front of there. Your neighbor's Civic Garden Center helped with that. And we provided shovels and trees and stuff like that, and that's how it happened. Next slide. And this is, there is such reward to this, because this is just a great shot of some of the students that were involved with that project. And it's just so neat seeing them kind of get the idea. In 1986, next slide. 1986, we started giving away trees. We decided, hey, let's promote this and add that to the equation. We began giving them away to local schools and other civic groups. Next slide. And in 2000, we began doing a tree seedling giveaway through the public libraries. This has just been a great experience. Doing it with school kids is just such a rewarding experience. We've actually found some research that showed that if you really target third graders, they're the ones that get so excited about it and are the most likely to take it home and get their parents to help them plant it. Some of the older kids might play sword fighting on the way home, and you're not sure what's going to happen. Next slide. And this is a picture I took this year. Usually after our school tree bagging, I deliver a lot of the trees to schools. And if I can get a picture, I usually try to. And this picture says it all. These kids, I don't know if you can see that well, but some of them are just hugging the tree. And it's just, after that, I get back in my car and I've got the biggest smile on my face you can imagine. Again, we do this. Partnering has been a key piece of the puzzle to make to get to where we've been as far as what we've accomplished. We have worked with a lot of groups: the Nature Conservancy, Cincinnati Parks, Great Parks, Cincinnati Zoo, Civic Garden Center, Little Miami Incorporated, and on and on. It's just been really fun to work with and have that fellowship with other groups. About 6 years ago, we realized that the organization was run by the initial trustees still, and we were all getting kind of old. So we started thinking, okay, where do we go from here? How do we continue this? We really thought at that point, we got a good thing going. So we transitioned to an electable board. We created new bylaws that enabled that, and we started bringing on new members. And that has been exciting also, because we have, some of the original trustees are still involved, but the majority now is newer members, and they are picking up. I'm still kind of guiding them in a bit, but it's just neat seeing them take over. Through our efforts, we intend to continue promoting tree seedling giveaways and helping others plant trees. Most importantly, we want to help plant the idea of planting trees through our school giveaways. That's one thing that we really think we've accomplished. Planting that idea. It's not just planting the trees, it's getting people to understand the importance, as Phillip had pointed out, but then taking that initiative. What do you do then? hey, here's a way you do it. Here's trees, and you get people to help plant them. And again, as I've said, we have a big component. You know, I remember when we created the name for the organization, somebody really felt we want to add that fellowship. Because, and if people have been to our tree bagging, it is so neat when people walk away at the end of the night and feel, you know, it's like, boy, I really had a lot of fun. That's the most common thing that people say to me. And that's the fellowship that's involved with that. As you guys know with the church, fellowship is just so key and important. Let's see, next slide. The OVFF, and I had to get a picture of Philip in here. This is a picture of some of the work we've done at French Park. And another, you know, being involved with French Park was just another way for me to, you know, have fellowship with other people and partner with other groups. The OVFF is an all-volunteer nonprofit. We're a 50, we incorporated as a 501c3 organization at the very beginning. You can find out more about us and how to volunteer at our website, ovfftrees.org. I do have pamphlets outside I can hand out to people. I want to thank you again for letting me share the OVFF story. Yeah, what we've accomplished, I just want to promote with more and more people and get more and more people involved. And thanks again, Philip, for inviting me to this. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thanks so much. That was inspirational. We all need more trees in our lives. I know my neighborhood, they're all about cutting down trees, but they never put up any new ones. So it'd be nice to get them inspired to change that. Okay. Now it's time to take our offering, give as you are able, and help this wonderful organization. Okay, as the ushers pass the plates for our offering today, please note that our Share the Plate recipient for April is the Ohio Valley Forestry Fellowship. Cash collected in the plate today will further the important work we've just heard about. Giving to First Church is easy. You can text the word GIVE to 513-717-7373. In our Breeze member system, you may click Give Now, or you can give online at firstuu.com. Checks may be sent to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati, 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45219. Put OVFF in the memo line if you want it to go to the Ohio Valley Forestry Fellowship.
they asked, "If a tree should fall in the woods and you are not there, does it make a sound?" And the answer came, "If a tree should fall and no one is there, listen for the cry of mourning birds who grieve the loss of their nests. They know where the tree lies. They call to you to companion them as they search for a place to rest. Listen then for the mourning birds." Please join me in reading together the words that will appear on the screen as we extinguish our chalice. I don't have it memorized. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.